Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Geek Addicts, the pop culture podcast where we travel around the world of soundscapes and different mediums, going from like the hills to like sci-fi to slice of lives to I don't know where I'm going with this. How's it going, Matt?
Doing pretty all right. Getting real tired of this heat wave, though. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, this was I always say that it's been hell of a week, but this was hell of a week.
Yeah, I get
I've
that.
not been more tired and just beat to hell than I was after this one.
Well, the heat just does that to you. I mean, has it been super hot where you're at too, or I mean, I
Yeah,
can imagine we're not that far away.
it's been that. I had a really shitty week at work.
Yeah.
Just a whole bunch of stuff. It's like everything kind of like I'm still trying to get back on track, just kind of catching up on bills and everything.
Yeah, I'm with you there. It's no shortage of those to go around.
Yeah. It's just one of those weeks where you're just like every turn left and right, it's like something else comes up and you're just like, I just want to you just want to crawl in a hole and just go away for a while sometimes.
Yeah, I had one of those like annoying weeks at work where like I had plenty of work to keep me busy, but like every time I was going to every time I had it in my mind, it was like, okay, I'm gonna go to get this done in X amount of time, and before the end of the day, and this and that, and then somebody will come in and be like, hey, this is a rush job. Stop what you're doing and do this. Like, you're gonna be fucking kidding me.
Yeah, I hate that.
Yeah, it's been happening all week, which is weird because usually that doesn't happen until towards the end of the month.
Yeah, unfortunately.
But oh well. So you texted me, I think last weekend, and said that you were on the Christianity arc of Rurouni Kenshin. How's that going?
So I haven't had time to watch any more of it. All I know is I'm watching these episodes and I'm just like, God damn, they were struggling to keep this going at this point.
Yeah, the filler bits is when it starts to get like really weird and out there, especially for like the kind of shit. Because up to that point, it's like, okay, so this is just like a samurai show, and like, yeah, some of the stuff is a little bit unrealistic, but for the most part, it's pretty grounded. And then you get to the Christianity arc.
Yeah, I'm just like, okay, this is
like,
very
all right, they're just making shit up now.
I mean, there's an entire episode where Karu is like wants to get married, and like Kenshin somehow ends up getting an engagement ring from a fish, and of course, Karu ends up with it. It's a weird fucking thing.
Yeah, that's about right. But yeah, I beat Legacy of Goku 2 over the weekend. So that's out of the way now. I'm back on Lord of the Rings Tactics, and I'm most of the way through that. I'm like, because there's technically two story modes in that game. There's a story mode for the good guys and a story mode for the bad guys. I've gone all the way through the good guys one, and I'm happy through the bad guys. So I should be done with that by the next time we record.
Nice.
I have played a little bit more of the Sandland game, and I am getting more into it. I unlocked a couple more of the vehicles. I got the jump bot, and then I think the regular car, or at least I got the schematics for the regular car. I think there are 5 vehicle types because there's like a little menu wheel when you go to select, because you store them in capsules like Dragon Ball. So you have like a little capsule wheel, and there's 5 slots. So I'm pretty sure there's a dune buggy too, which I'm looking forward to getting that at some point. But no, I've been enjoying the game. It's pretty cool. But it's one of those games that I want to like actually have like a solid hour, maybe 2 hours to just sit down and get into, because it's one of those games that I feel like you need that amount. Like, it's not one that you can just kind of jump in for like 15, 20 minutes. It's one that you have to like actually commit a little bit of time to like, actually get stuff done.
That's understandable.
So that one's going to be a slow going game, but I'm going to keep chipping away at it. Aside from that, I'm getting pretty close to the end of MCU Phase 4. They're throwing in a lot of X-Men hints, little like X-Men teasers. Every now and then they'll throw in the little da-da-da-da-da-da.
See, what's funny about those, about how like the X-Men is definitely like very obviously quickly approaching for the MCU. It's interesting to me because it feels like it's definitely been long enough since the last like Fox X-Men movie that like there's like enough of a gap that I feel like a new generation will be able to like adapt to this new X-Men and the old people will have moved on and they won't throw a bitch fit over it.
Yeah. Well, it's actually funny because I watched the newest Doctor Strange movie, and Patrick Stewart makes an appearance as Professor X in that movie.
Which is interesting because I know because there's like multiverses and stuff and it makes sense. Uh, also, I think Sam Raimi directed that movie, which was I found interesting.
At the end, I saw his name popped up at the very beginning of the credits, and I was like, "Holy shit!" Like, I
Yeah,
didn't even realize he did any more superhero movies after Spider-Man.
well, because the disaster is because apparently like the story with Sam Raimi I've read is that like they were gonna do Spider-Man 4, and then I guess the script was so horrendously bad he just quit the project. Because I've read the script, it's not good.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, it's
I'm
not like he
surprised.
couldn't have just gotten a different writer, but whatever.
It was probably politics and all sorts of stuff
Yeah,
behind the scenes. I'm pretty sure Sony wanted to reboot Spider-Man by that point, anyways.
yeah. Well, it wasn't that long after Spider-Man 3, the first Amazing Spider-Man came out, so
Yeah.
oh well. Um, but yeah, I've so the last batch of dubbed One Piece episodes for the Wano arc came out over the past couple weeks,
Oh yeah.
and so that closes out Wano. So I decided since Phase 5 hasn't really like there isn't that much for Phase 5 in MCU yet so far. So I decided that instead of stopping at the end of Phase 4, I'm just gonna push through and catch up completely. And then when I'm done with that, I'm gonna just dive right into One Piece and just go all the way through Wano
Nice.
because it's a lot. It's like 200 episodes in that arc.
Yeah, yeah. I've seen that. I've heard
It's
from
very
Alex.
it's very long, but once it's done, I'm caught up until and that's probably what I'll do is I'll probably just wait until an arc is finished the dub. So like I probably won't watch any more One Piece again until after Egghead completes their dub, but
Yeah.
that's not gonna be for a while. So
It says a lot that the Wano arc is long enough to be its own fucking show.
it's longer than many other anime. It might honestly be the longest arc in anime history. I
Yeah.
don't quote me on that, but it, considering it's like numerous times longer than most other animes out there, like it's pretty likely.
In the time it would take you to watch the Wano arc, you could probably watch like probably 100 different like shorter animes.
In the time it would take me to watch through the Wano arc, I could probably watch through all of the MCU.
Probably. That's fascinating.
But I mean, at this point, I'm this far deep, so I might as well just dive in, you know. And that's what I was waiting for. I figure once they finish putting out English episodes for that, I might as well just go all in, just go through it all, and then move on to whatever else after that.
Yeah. I gotta kick back and get back into my anime watching. It's just hard when you're like so fucking tired and like you just can't like focus. Like nothing's worse than trying to follow an anime and being sleepy.
Yeah, especially when you're in Filler City on a '90s anime, no less.
Yeah. Yeah. And I have to change the DVD every like 5 episodes. So
Oh yeah, you're watching it on DVDs too.
well, because unfortunately, streaming wise, the only service that has Veroni Kenshin 96 is Hulu, and it's the Sony dub, which sucks. So,
Yeah, horrendous. I've
so
only
if you're
like
gonna,
watched like a couple episodes of that version, and it's not good.
what baffles me is Kenshin's voiced by the same guy, but his performance is like infinitely worse somehow.
It has to be like a director thing. Like the director must have just told him to go in a different direction. I don't know which one came first, but
I want to say it was the uh the Media Blasters dub, the good one, but
Mhm.
I have no idea. It's such a weird thing with dubs back then where you'd get two completely different dubs and they'd be of drastically varying qualities.
Yeah. I mean, being realistic, neither dub is exactly like up to par to the standards of today. But
Well, no, the original Kenshin, well, the Media Blasters dub is just okay. Like, there's nothing.
it's
There's some
passable.
good. There's some good actors in there, but it's clearly a '90s dub.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Because yeah, you watch it and like the noises Kenshin makes throughout that show are wonderful.
Oh yeah.
Like, I still haven't watched the reboot, so I'm not sure how the dub is in that, but I've heard it's at least more serious, I guess you could say.
It is. I mean, it's still ruining Kenshin because while like the original anime definitely took some liberties and did some changes, like for the most part, like up through like the Kyoto stuff, it's obviously there's some differences, but it's still pretty accurate for the most part. One thing with like the Kenshin noises and stuff is he does the thing from the live action movies, which I think is actually just a manga thing, and they just dubbed it wrong originally.
Yeah.
Where he kept going Ororo.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one. He does that a lot in the reboot.
That's good, I guess.
But,
I mean, that second season for that's coming out pretty soon, so.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, and Shelley Duvall died a few days ago, which is a serious bummer. Yeah. Maybe maybe in her honor we'll do an episode on The Shining at some point in the future.
The original one, I'm assuming.
Yeah, the one she was in.
Yeah, that's like the one non. So I know Stephen King redid it years later. I honestly still prefer the original version though.
See, I like both of them, but for different reasons. See, I like the original one just for like, well, first of all, just because of like the general impact it's had on the horror genre for film in general. But I mean, I love Jack Nicholson. I think his performance was great. The way, but at the same time, it's pretty different from how he's supposed to be, like in the book.
True.
Because in the book, like he starts out as like a dude who definitely has problems, but for the most part, he's still just like a regular dude. But Jack Nicholson has that like psycho look that just is there forever, no matter what he's in, no matter what kind of part he's playing. He just has that like that little glint in his eye that just makes you feel like this guy could murder me and wear my face for a mask.
I mean, he would later play the Joker, so it makes sense. Or was the Joker before The Shining?
No, the Joker was after.
After, yeah, that was 89.
But the Shining came out in 80.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of like the biggest separation. I do really like Steven Weber's portrayal of Jack in the 90s version. While that version is definitely stretched, like it is much longer than it needed to be, it is the more book accurate version.
Yeah.
But I mean, like I said, there's good parts of it, there's bad parts of it. But I mean, overall, I like them both pretty much equally, just for different reasons.
I think as a solo standalone product, I think the original film is just a better film overall. Like in terms of just overall production, the redone one is definitely, as you said, more accurate to the book. But I just feel like at times it was like the meme of like just get on with it. Like,
yeah. Well, I mean, it's like an hour and a half, hour 45 movie versus like a 4.5 hour miniseries.
Yeah,
and they're ultimately telling the same story. It's just one has a much longer buildup than the other.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those things where if you had never read the books and then you jumped from the original to the second one, you'd probably be really confused. But I'm sure fans of the books are much more appreciative of the later version.
Yeah. Plus, you like kind of have to look at the miniseries as its own thing too, because the sequel movie was specifically a sequel to the first movie. So, which is also very good if you've never watched it. But if we do a Shining episode, we'll have to do a follow up on Doctor Sleep because it's a fantastic film.
Yeah.
But yeah, aside from that, I think that's
about
pretty
it.
much all I can think of for a catch up.
Yeah, I haven't really. This has been such a boring week for me. I'm not gonna lie.
I gotcha. Oh, you finished your Atlas thing, right?
I did my top 5 Atlas lists. I don't know when that's coming out. We're still working on finalizing that for the SuperPod network, but I did play a bunch of Atlas games recently, and it's some fun. I had to pick some deep cuts for that one, so I'm looking forward to when that finally comes out.
I've been toying around with the thought of doing a blog on the website, but I've also never done one before. So, and I also have no idea what I would even do it about, like what people would even give a shit about. So,
I mean, that's the beauty of the SuperPod network, is it's just kind of do whatever.
That's fair. I think it sounded like you were struggling.
Yeah. Yeah. But I guess I think we've waffled along enough. I think we should transfer into our topic for this episode, and that is we've had this one sitting in the docket for a bit now. We thought it'd be interesting to talk about different anime soundtracks. So
yeah. Oh, go ahead.
Go on.
Floor is yours, sir.
I lost my train of thought. Go ahead.
Oh. Well, I was just gonna say like anime soundtracks are so interesting compared to like soundtracks from most other mediums. Like I'd say the closest to them would probably be maybe video game soundtracks, as far as like the way that they're handled. Because like depending on the tone of the show, like the soundtracks can vary wildly between genres, and the one specific show could have music that spans all genres, you know.
Oh yeah.
And it's a really interesting way that a lot of these things are arranged.
There's also like, to me, like another thing cool is when you look at anime music, there is like there's also a divide between like you've got the traditional music that plays during the show, but then there's also a separate whole production that is the intro and outro for every show, which is its own big thing, which is like nuts. And like some of this music goes way harder than it should.
Oh yeah, for sure. And then there's also the insert songs that you get like, you know, mid episode every now and then.
Oh yeah. So I don't know how you want to structure this. Do you want to just kind of spitball random shows and just kind of see where it takes us?
Yeah. Well, just before we start going back and forth with shows, I just wanted to ask you, like, what, in your opinion, like what makes a good soundtrack? Like, what are the points, like, you know, the check boxes that you need to mark off before you say like this is top tier?
So for me, it's not too difficult. It's kind of the same way I view music in like any medium. It's got to be fitting enough. It's got to be memorable, and it can't be too distracting. Like, because the worst to me is when you're trying to pay attention to a show and the music is like so like either just out of left field or obnoxious that like it distracts from the overall product. I also, to me, another cool thing about music, this one is not an unnecessary thing, but it is something that I like it to be something that you can listen to on its own without the show itself, like to go along with it, which that is a bit harder to do. And I'm not going to say that one is a requirement because that's kind of unfair. But that is like an extra plus for me.
Yeah. Well, if it checks that box on its own, then it's automatically top tier.
Yeah. The worst is like when you get something that just doesn't fit the media, like the medium at all, and it honestly just kind of ruins the experience.
I get that. You know, it's funny when you said the thing about the music being distracting. The first place my head went was the the old dub music for Dragon Ball Z, and it was the scene where Android 17 was first woken up and came out of his pod, and the music that was playing was just like the soft tone that he was speaking in, and the way that the Faulkner music was like blaring over him, you could not understand a single fucking word he said. And that's a meme at this point for people of our generation who grew up with that. Like nobody knows what the fuck he was saying in that scene.
I feel like Dragon Ball's probably a really good place to start, honestly. Because, like, to me, like, when I was thinking, like, distracting and then unfitting for music, the fucking GT soundtrack, like, that we got, like...
The American one, yes.
Well, yeah.
The Japanese soundtrack for GT is arguably the best soundtrack in all of Dragon Ball.
See, I just think of, like, the American soundtrack with the fucking Grand Tour shit. Like...
Yeah, that was rough. That was ugh, awful.
I hate when they pander, because like the early 2000s, like they were really pandering to the rap crowd, and I'm just like, I don't hate rap music, but it's not something I want to listen to when I'm trying to enjoy my men screaming and hitting each other with laser beams. So,
well, again, it's matching tone for a series. Like rap does not fit with like the like GT kind of almost, yeah, it's like a space travel-y show, but it almost has not 100%, but it almost kind of feels in certain scenes like a kind of dystopian vibe, and rap, like especially that kind of rap, just did not match that at all.
It was very pandery. Like it was it dates GT, well, which is hilarious because GT is fucking a lot older than when it came out over here. But it somehow dates the at least the English version like horrendously.
That's for sure. But like going back to like original Dragon Ball, like that music, like that's some of those songs will never leave my head. Like even if I don't watch Dragon Ball ever again for the rest of my life, like some of the tracks that you hear, you know, just like that.
Oh yeah, the original opening is iconic. Like that'll stick in my head forever. And then the ending theme with Bulma staring at the window, like that always like you can. So that was interesting to me. Is like Dragon Ball. That was back in the era where like animes had one intro and like one outro for the entire run. Because like even by like the final episode when they're doing like the wedding dress saga, like it's still which Bulma isn't a part of it all, by the way. They're still like the ending theme is still Bulma staring out the window in the rain.
Yeah, and I mean in both cases, all the images and stuff is still like Kid Goku. So even past the point where he's grown up, it's still showing that. And even the mid episode, you know, like the ad break little bits will still be like Kid Goku and everything. So it's just one of those weird things where at the time they just didn't want to make a bunch of them. I mean, even Dragon Ball Z only had 2 openings and I think 2 endings.
Yeah. Well, another interesting thing too, it's like jumping over to Z real quick, like so I made the comment about GT where I did not like the American reinterpretation of stuff. Z, on the other hand, I kind of give it a pass just because as much as I love Chala Head Rock the Dragon just fucking works so well as an intro.
Yeah, that's true.
Like it is incredibly 90s and incredibly dated by today's standards, but there's just something really catchy about Dragon, Rock the Dragon.
Now, honestly, I feel like if we're gonna do talk about openings for a second, I feel like as much as I like Chala Head Chala, I feel like I like We Gotta Power more.
That's a good one as well.
That was just one that I enjoyed a lot, and I didn't actually hear it like legitimately for the first time until just a few years ago. But I don't know, I just like the vibe of it. It's a lot more like boppy, if that makes sense.
Yeah. It's definitely it's not as iconic, but it's a really good like theme song overall.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of people like to shit on the Boo Saga anyway, so generally people.
True.
You know.
To me, like it's funny. I guess like still in the Dragon Ball camp, though. I still think the best Dragon Ball intro song ever is still Limit Break Survivor.
That's definitely up there. for sure. For me, it's hard because I really like Don Don, even though it is like a totally different kind of vibe. Dragon Soul is good too. I don't know. Let Me Limit Break Survivor is definitely, at the very least, top 2, top 3. But it's hard for me to pick a favorite.
It's funny because like when Limit Break Survivor first, like when I first heard it, I didn't like it, which to me I think is because I was just so used to the original Super intro theme that you had heard for like the first like 80 something episodes, and then for like
My
the
least.
final.
Okay.
Not a fan.
No, I can't stand that first Super song. I hate it. It just sounds so dumb.
I don't know. I like the full version, like that they don't play for the intro, but like there's like all the added like metal guitar shit that happens in the second half of it.
I don't know. It's just something about the way he sings it. It sounds like he's having a stroke.
The Japanese or the English version,
Both.
where he still
They
sounds.
They sing it the same way in the both versions.
I love the English version where if you're not paying attention, you can't even tell it's English.
I know, right? Ridiculous. But yeah, as far as like in episode songs and stuff, like are there any in particular that come to mind, either in the Faulkner or the Kikuchi score? Or
so for the Faulkner score, it's still like when Goku turns Super Saiyan 3 for the first time. That song is just forever stuck in my head.
Yeah, that's super iconic. I also really like Hell's Bells, Vegeta's theme.
Oh yeah, there's some good ones there.
That one's a good one.
That's
one of my favorite things about the Legacy Goku games is it does all the Faulkner songs, but like 32-bit.
Oh yeah,
it actually really works really well for a video game.
One song that still sticks out to my head these days is the theme that plays when not when he's gone full I don't know why I'm brain farting. What's Goku's ultimate form called again?
The new one?
Yeah,
Ultra Instinct.
Yeah. When he's going Ultra Instinct, like there's just that theme that plays with like the fucking choir in the background and like the weird piano buildup.
Yeah, the Ultra Instinct theme is pretty wild. I can't wait to see what the hell they come up with for a theme song for Vegeta's new form. That's gonna be fun. I don't know if it's still gonna be who the hell does the? I don't know why I'm brain farting on the guy who did the music for Super.
So I'm terrible at remembering the names, but let me see here. Dragon.
It's gonna drive me nuts.
Sumitomo. Yep. Yes.
Yeah. I don't know if they're still gonna have him do the music whenever Super does come back, but either way, I'm interested to see, because I know like the beginning of Super had such a I don't know, honestly, the beginning of Super had a pretty mid soundtrack in my opinion, and then it wasn't until Goku Black that I feel like he really started to find his stride with that.
I always think of the early just like whenever they're just chilling around the house, and it's just like they got that like weird like trumpet song that just plays all the time.
Yeah,
yeah, it's like okay, like we're watching the Dragon Ball slice of life now.
Yeah, that's what it ends up becoming with a lot of the filler episodes. It's pretty much just Dragon Ball slice of life.
Well, because there's that point in after Goku Black where it's just like nothing but filler arcs until they start getting into the tournament.
I actually love that section of the show.
Oh yeah, because
some of my favorite stuff.
Well, is it even really filler when technically it was anime first? So
yeah, that's why Super is in a weird gray zone with that. I think generally the general consensus for what's canon and what isn't in Super is if it's something that happened in both versions. If it happened in the manga and in the anime, then it's canon.
Gotcha.
Like Ultra Instinct, absolutely 100% canon.
Yeah.
Who beat Kefla? Who knows? Because it certainly wasn't Goku in the manga.
Yeah. Android 17 still wins regardless.
Yep, that's canon.
Like some weird bullshit. But
Yeah. But I don't know, it's just one of those weird gray zones with Super. Um yeah, I'm trying to think. I know there was some good Goku Black songs.
I love
I
that
love
theme.
the Piccolo theme is one of my favorites, especially the Demon King Piccolo theme is one of my favorites of all time.
To me, like the best is so this is like not really anime music, but this is just something I love because it's so fucking hilariously bad. Is all the Dragon Ball Z movies had like real life like music in them for some reason.
Yeah, it was at that weird point in dubbing where they were trying to really catch new people, so they started putting in like Disturbed and Pantera and shit into the movies.
Drowning Pool's my favorite, where it's just like let the bodies hit. Like what the fuck is
Yeah,
this?
right.
I love that music. It's like that's like my shit from back in the day, but like it is just so fucking funny when he's like beating up like Cooler or like Lord Slug, and you're just hearing David Draymond screaming in the background.
That's half the reason I loved those movies so much as a kid. I mean, obviously I was already into Dragon Ball, so that wasn't, I was gonna watch them regardless. But when like started hearing like fucking Stupefy and shit while Goku's fighting Lord Slug, like that's
Yeah,
wild.
it's just so stupid. Honestly, it makes the Brawly movie like way more enjoyable, in my
Yeah, for
opinion.
sure. At
It,
least at
it's
least the music kept you hooked, if nothing else.
yeah, it's hilarious how much the new Brawly film, like Super Brawly, has like made me just dislike the original Brawly even more.
I mean, I still like the old Broly movies. Some of them legitimately, some of them ironically, but I still like them all.
See, his motivation is what makes me hate the first one. Second Coming just sucks. I hate that movie, but Bio
Yeah, that
Brawly I
movie.
kind of like because it's so fucking ridiculous.
The only good thing that came out of Second Coming was the family Kamehameha.
True.
And
Oh
Bio
man,
Broly is just goofy as fuck, and
Bio
that's
Brawly's
I'm
like
there for it.
Bio Brawly's like they ran out of ideas, and it's like Goku's fight. No, not Goku. It's like we're fighting a shit demon that has Brawly's hair for some reason.
Yep, he's got Broly's hair, and his goop is acid, and they melted a demon dog.
Yeah. And the only like reason to watch that movie is if you're like an Android 18 fan because she actually does stuff in it.
Also, you find out about Mr. Satan wetting the bed at Go Away Camp. So
Yeah. Unfortunately, though, I doubt that's canon. So
I choose to see it as canon.
it's like all of the movies. It's like, yeah, they're probably all not canon. Bio Brawl. That would be the best if like they just were like Bio Brawl is the only canon one. They
Yeah,
just like
right.
drop that, and it's like
Just
okay,
randomly.
they should bring
That's
Bio
wild.
Brawly back just in like one of these later like things, and just be like, remember this?
I'm sure he's in Heroes somewhere.
Probably. I'm surprised he was he ever in a game like as a fighting.
I don't think so. It was never in any of the Tenkaichi games. I can tell you that much. And those games had like everybody.
True.
So probably
Um,
not, unless it was in Heroes.
Fair. Any final thoughts on Dragon Ball before we move on? Or
No, not in particular.
okay. So I wanted to bring this up just because we mentioned it earlier, but the '96 Rurouni Kenshin show had some pretty good music.
Yeah, honestly, it's one of those things where like I liked the older music more than I mean the new music is good in the reboot, but it just doesn't have the same kind of tone for me.
The theme that plays whenever Kenshin appears, it's also like the main menu theme on the Media Blaster DVD box sets, but it's like just like that it's like that flute song that plays like whenever he shows up that's
Mhm.
really like dramatic. Like that to me is like the Kenshin theme.
Yeah,
Uh I'm not talking about the greatest Kenshin song ever, Freckles, though.
yeah. So the greatest anime song of all time.
I just love like playing that because like it starts off so goofy and then like you start hearing the singer, either the English or the Japanese, and it's like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, it's another case of equally bad on both
Yeah.
counts.
What's funny though is the music itself is pretty catchy, but then the singer starts singing and you're just like, what the fuck? Like this doesn't work, but it somehow does at the same time.
Super 90s though, that's for sure.
It's just like the dramatic, like the pretty guitar heavy start. That's like it's like, oh, this could be pretty hard. Then this really high pitched like feminine voice starts singing, and you're like, oh my, like what am I watching?
Mhm.
Didn't you
So
say
like,
Cindy's like response was like, what the fuck?
yeah, pretty much. Especially when she actually started like reading like the translation, the subtitles at the bottom, and she was like, "This is just nonsense. Like
It's like
it makes literally no sense."
the line that's like, life is like a sugar cube, and it's like, what?
Yeah, right. Like what the fuck? Who wrote this, and how much drugs were they taking? Also, can I have some?
Did you see Alma Lee did like a 'cause she does all those anime like versions like on Spotify. She did a version of Freckles that's actually pretty good.
Did she? I'll have to check that out at some point. I haven't listened to her in forever. Um, but yeah, I like the Rurouni Kenshin soundtrack. It fits the vibe of like the time period that they're in. Another one that I like a little bit more, and I think is also very fitting with the time period it's set in, is Inuyasha.
So I was trying to say, I didn't want to go right into Inuyasha, but I figured why not. Inuyasha's music is there's so much like flute and stuff and like lute and like all this like old timey like sounds, but it
Mhm.
like works like so well for like that time period, and it's all very catchy. Um,
But it's
Inuyasha's
very emotional when it needs to be.
oh yeah,
Like Kikyo's theme is fucking haunting.
it is. Another thing too to me is like Inuyasha is a very weird anime case where like I feel like most of its openings are kind of crap, but it has like some of the best like outros in like anime history, in my opinion.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Like a lot of the openings, like Inuyasha was one of the ones I skipped the opening for a lot.
So the only opening that I can remember, because like you'd be amazed how I can remember like all the outros, but I can't fucking remember any of the openings in Inuyasha. The only one I remember is the first one, "Change the World," just because
Mhm.
it's somewhat iconic. Then the final act, just because it was a Dua's Infinity song.
Mhm.
Like the only opening they did, because they mostly just did outros for that show. Because like everybody remembers outro 2, which was the famous the song where they're it's like Sesshomaru staring at his dad's corpse, and like you always like hear it right there.
Yeah.
Fukamori, I think it's called. Like that song is legit one of the best like anime outros like ever. Because it just fits so well, and it's like such an iconic like the fucking drums like that open it up to like the just like the female singer, because they cut out the opening part of that song for the actual version that's played in the intro the outro.
Mhm.
But that's a really good one. I love all of the outros for the most part.
Well, for me, the music in Inuyasha, like the background music in the episodes, is like it fits so well, and it hits the emotion that it's supposed to hit, depending on what's going on in the scene every time. And that's what I really look for, is like with especially anime, um, like the music needs to match the tone of the show, but like regardless, it needs to bring out some sort of emotion in me. And if it brings a tear to my eye, because I'd say 9.5 out of 10 times, if my eyes water up while I'm watching an anime, it's because the music matches perfectly, and the music is
Mhm.
what's really working on me, on top of like what's happening on the screen.
Oh yeah.
Uh, and that's why things like Sword Art Online uh, work on me, is because the music is just so fucking gorgeous, and it just fits perfectly with every scene.
Oh yeah. It's interesting too because like going back to Inuyasha real quick, the one thing I really liked about the dynamic of the music in that too is like it could really go between, because Inuyasha is a very tonally all over the place kind of show.
Oh
It
yeah.
would go from like the serious moments, and then like you get Kagome being and Inuyasha doing their normal shtick, and it's just like this goofy music that will play. But then
Mm-hmm.
immediately go into something serious right after, or you'll get like Moroku being Moroku at points, and like they always like have to like work around that.
Mm-hmm.
It was also very good at like the like timing. Like there'd be moments where there'd be no music at like points that like it was fitting, but then it would transition into music at times.
Mhm. For sure. That's a show I need to watch again soon.
It's interesting too because they kept that music, like those music choices, when they did Yashahime too. Like it's got Yashahime didn't has a lot of problems, but the music wasn't one of them.
Is it the same composer?
I'm not sure on that. I should probably double check.
I
They
mean,
definitely
hmm?
they kept the same vibe. I know that.
I was just curious because I mean, it's a solid amount of time between the original series and in Yashahime, so I can imagine that it
Yeah.
wouldn't surprise me if he was retired.
So the original Inuyasha was done by Karuwada. Um, I'm not sure though if he came back for Yashahime. Let's take a look. Yep, it was Karuwada. So he did
Okay.
both.
Oh wow. It's
It
rare
makes
for something like
sense.
that to happen with a sequel series that comes so much later than the original.
I think he works for Sunrise, who did the animation, so it probably he was just on hand still.
Gotcha.
So you were saying Sword Art Online is another good one.
Oh yeah, like the music is. I mean, the openings and endings work really well for that show too. There are some in particular that I like more than others. Um, but the music that just goes along with whatever's happening on the screen, just it fits so perfectly, and like any kind of emotion that it wants you to feel. If it's like, and it's like fully like a full orchestra kind of soundtrack too. So it's like it goes super into it. Um, like whenever it's like a big emotional scene or a big like a scene where a character's going through a lot of grief or trauma or something, like it just fits. Like it's hard to describe, honestly. It's I know you haven't watched it yet, right?
I've only seen parts here and there. It's on the
Mm.
list. I'll get to eventually.
But that's a series whose I listen to that soundtrack separately, all like not super often, but every now and then I'll toss it on because it just, I mean, it's also good reading music too.
True. Um, so let's go a little left field now. Let's talk about a slice of life. The music in Fruit Baskets is very interesting to me.
Yeah, it was actually funny you mentioned that. Cindy actually just finished it.
Oh, did she?
Mhm.
Nice. What'd you think of that ending?
She liked it. She thought it was cute.
It's good. It's a good story overall. But
Yeah.
I was gonna say like Fruit Baskets is an interesting one because I wanted to use Fruit Baskets as an example because it is a very not typical slice of life in a lot of ways. Just because of the it's a very depressing show at times. And
Yeah.
the reason why I bring it up is because the music really highlights that because there is so many occasions where it'll be like all upbeat and cheerful, but then you'll get like a big character emotional moment, like say like we're getting like Rin's backstory or like Toru's friends' backstories, or hell, even Toru's backstory gradually throughout the show, where it just gets really somber and emotional. Like to me, like one of the most like chilling musical parts of that series is like when Toru falls off the cliff.
Yeah.
It's like that scene is just like damn, or like the build up to when she finally gets out of the hospital and like she runs into a Kyo and then runs away. Like just the dramatic like cut in music there before getting like into the scene, the music where he's chasing after her.
Yeah, for sure. And just like I think that's another thing when it comes to like how well a soundtrack works is how it knows when to just cut the music just in the moment, just completely, or when to have it fade out, or when to have it just transition to another song, like that, like the way it's arranged plays a big part in how it impacts the viewer.
Oh yeah, Like another one that's similar is like Kaguya-sama, where
Mhm.
Kaguya-sama I love just because like the music for the show itself is great, but it also has legit the most bombastic openings in like any anime I think I've ever seen.
Yeah, every single one of Kaguya's openings is a banger.
Well,
I
they're all
love them
by
all.
this they're all by the same guy, and like he just goes so fucking extra for no
Mhm.
reason. Like we've got obviously Love is War, Daddy Daddy Do, which that name is still great. Um Girl Girl, and then the movie had Life is Show,
Mhm.
or Love is Show, I should say. And they all just like I always joke saying anime openings are just the hype songs to get you into the anime, which is kind of sad about Inuyasha because none of those really got you hyped.
Yeah.
But like Kaguya-sama to me has probably like some of the most hype openings in an anime because like you just hear that opening like big band sound for like Love is War, and you're like, oh boy, we're in for a good time now.
Yeah. And the opening animations just that go along with the songs just fit so perfectly.
Oh yeah, even the Chica dance like is a one-off track that only happens once in the entire anime, but it is fucking iconic and everyone remembers it. Then her animation there is so fucking fluid. It's almost uncomfortable.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, and the music in the show is great too because it kind of jumps between like whimsical at times when like they've got the whole like love is war thing, or my favorite is like when like the narrator like Ian Sinclair is just fucking losing his mind and the music just gets fucking mental in the background as he's like he's like what the hell's going on.
Yeah. It's always funny.
That is a show I still think the dub actually makes better somehow.
I can imagine. Like it's one of those ones that like I'd like to read the manga for at some point, but I feel like just without Ian Sinclair screaming in the background, it just wouldn't be as good.
It's got a different vibe to it. It's
Mhm.
equally as good. A lot of it's because Akasaka's art is really interesting, and it only gets ironically the show ends off the anime right where I feel like the turning point for everything is because it gets very different from then on out because obviously the whole love is war thing is kind of over and now that they're
Mhm.
together. Then it gets
Yeah,
really into like the family drama and stuff, which is a different vibe, but I do enjoy it.
that's fair. I really hope they end up making another season.
Yeah, because there's honestly some of the most interesting stuff is after they get together. So
Yeah, I mean, where they left it off with the movie isn't a bad place to end it, but knowing that there's more just makes me want more.
knowing that there's a good amount more, I'm hoping it's not going to be like a Kimi ni Todoke thing where it takes like fucking a decade for a third season or
Mhm.
fourth in Kaguya-sama's case. But
Yeah. Um. Yeah. For another one, one that stands out to me, even though I haven't watched this anime in might even been close to a decade at this point, is Berserk.
the
Berserk
original,
soundtrack. Yeah, the original 90s anime. The the soundtrack for this, like this is one of those cases where it hits the tone dead on.
hmm,
Cause yeah, like you anybody who's seen Berserk knows like Berserk is, it's bleak, it's depressing, it's sad, but and the soundtrack reflects all of that. But in my personal opinion, the emotion that the soundtrack pulls uh most prominently, and I feel like it's the most important, is loneliness. Like the soundtrack makes like gives you a feeling of crushing loneliness, and that just works so fucking well with that show.
hmm. Yeah, it's not a. So I won't lie, I'm just not a huge Berserk fan. It's one that I've tried to get into and I just can't. But I will say the music that what I've listened to is very fitting to that like when you say bleak, you're not wrong. It is a very you need to be in a right mindset to really get into Berserk, I always say.
You need to be you need to at least be like mentally stable to watch that show because
Yeah.
it's a rough one.
It
Yeah,
is it's a
it's a
little
great story, but it is one of the darkest things I've ever seen in my life.
yeah, it's a little too bleak for my personal tastes, but like is. To me, it's like a weird thing where like I look at the art and I understand like the appreciation for it, but the story just is too. It's so not my thing that I just can't get into it.
I can understand that. It's definitely not for everybody. It's definitely an acquired taste kind of thing, and you have to have a strong stomach for it. That's for sure.
You gotta have a strong stomach and a strong mind for it. Like it's kind of a combination of things, and sometimes like I mean, it's no secret. I like my weird, goofy slice of life because I've just hit that point in life. But yeah, Berserk is definitely that one's not for the faint of heart.
No, not at all. But the music is absolutely fantastic,
and especially for a '90s anime.
Yeah, and it just fits so fucking well. Like every time you hear that, like, yeah, everyone like if you've seen the show, you know the song. You know it's the song.
But,
yeah.
So I wanted to kind of go a little bit goofier now on this next one because this show is objectively bad, but it's so nostalgic for like people like us in particular that we have to talk about it, and that's the Yu-Gi-Oh soundtrack.
Oh yeah, which is very different from the Japanese soundtrack because the Japanese is one of those things a lot of people I don't think really realize is that like everything in Yu-Gi-Oh is changed from the script to you know, freaking editing guns out of scenes or whatever, but the music too. The music is all completely different.
That was 4Kids specialty back then.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Just change fucking everything for no reason.
Yeah, the Yu-Gi-Oh soundtrack was really bizarre because it used a lot of like techno
and like orchestra and like, but it weirdly worked. I give 4Kids a lot of crap, but Yu-Gi-Oh I think is one of the few like where the soundtrack is actually. If I didn't know that it's not the original, I would think it fits fine.
And they even play around with a lot of like very like Middle Eastern Egyptian type music, and that works really well because you know with the whole origin of duel monsters and everything, how it's all supposed to be based on Egyptian mythology and stuff, which you know works really well for that, especially once you actually get to the ancient Egypt arc.
Oh yeah, like to me, like I always think that the original Yu-Gi-Oh opening like theme song, it's so iconic. Like the whole like just like the way it's like portrayed, especially because it doesn't really have lyrics. It just kind of like is it's basically just your move and Yu-Gi-Oh are the only words in the song.
Yeah, and the it's time to.
Yeah, I always love the part in the middle though of like especially the first variation where like they cut to Pegasus and just like this random like bass riff for no reason. I'm like, that's catchy. Like that was stuck in my head as a child for so long.
Yeah, that was a wild soundtrack.
But I also love how
for what it was.
Oh yeah, I love how they made that opening theme like a leitmotif for Yugi throughout the series though, which worked on so many levels.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I had to bring that one up though because that's just like such an iconic like soundtrack, especially for our generation.
I figured it would come up at some point because that's one of those ones that just I don't think anyone from our generation is ever going to forget that opening.
4Kids was weird. You would get stuff like the Pokemon theme, like everyone remembers Jason Page's Pokemon, like the original Pokemon theme, which people don't realize is not the Japanese version. It's very different in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
Even like the Pokemon soundtrack, it's not. It's bizarre, but I do love it. But like you get stuff like that, you get the Yu-Gi-Oh, but then you get the fucking pirate rap, which is like one of the. I love using that to troll Alex because she fucking hates it. But oh man, it's like one of those things where I was just like, I'm always like in my head like thinking like Toy Animation, why did you force this on 4Kids when they didn't want it? And then it sets you back so fucking far. Like if you just given to the Funimation to begin with, we wouldn't have had all these problems, and One Piece might have taken off a lot sooner than it did.
Yeah, it had a slow burn over here for sure.
Well, because they had to restart halfway through.
Yeah, it's funny though you mentioned Pokemon because that was a weird like for like American made soundtracks. This one was interesting because it kind of used variations of music from the games.
It did to a degree.
So it was really hard to, because I mean, even like the battle theme, like all that stuff, it was very, very much almost ripped straight from the games.
Do you remember the this released in the 90s, the To Be a Master CD?
Oh yeah,
Fucking
Pikachu's jukebox.
Fucking I legit like will rock out to fucking To Be a Master every now and then, or like Double Trouble, because they are cheesy as fuck, but they are weirdly catchy in a way. Especially there's a YouTube like a musician named Jonathan Young, and he's done all these recreations of those songs, including the best one is his fucking death metal version of the original Pokemon theme, where he actually got Jason Page to like do co-vocals with him.
That's awesome. I love Jonathan Young, and there's a guy he works with, Caleb Hiles. Like both of them do a lot of really great covers.
My favorite is he has an entire playlist of anime themes, but he stuck the Drake and Josh theme in there just as a joke. Like everyone's favorite anime.
He does a great English cover of Shingeki no Kyojin.
He did. He also did Limit Break Survivor, which was pretty epic.
Yeah, that was actually better than the official version, in my opinion. He also did a metal cover of Day of Fate, the insert song from when Gohan turned Super Saiyan 2 against Cell.
Oh yeah, and
that's really good.
My favorite he did, though, tying back to Pokemon, was he did a version of To Be a Master, but it was all guitar, bass, and drums, and it somehow works better than the original.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty great. I love when YouTube musicians do that kind of thing. It's so much fun, especially to hear like different versions of a song.
I don't listen to a ton of them, but Jonathan Young's one of the few I'll pop in every now and then, just because he did some really good. Well, I mean, he still does. He does some good stuff.
Yeah. I don't know if you've heard it before, but if you get the chance, look up his English cover of the Budokai 2 theme. It's fantastic. One of my favorite Dragon Ball songs.
I've seen that one. That is a good one. Going back to Pokemon though, like, so obviously there's a bit of a disconnect after like 4Kids lost the rights and they switched over to the Pokemon Company handling it in-house. But I always say like the opening themes of Pokemon to me were always really funny, because like the ones that released in the 90s were like super 80s. And then the ones that released in the early 2000s were like super 90s, and then the ones that released in like the 2010s were like super 2000s. Like they were always like a decade behind.
Yeah, but I like that kind of thing. It's always funny. I mean, Dragon Ball kind of did a similar thing. I mean, especially when you look at like some of the English openings as well.
Oh yeah,
because I mean the first Dragon Ball had a very like very 80s type of theme song,
heavy synth,
which I mean fitting because it was the 80s. And then like it transitions to Dragon Ball Z when it aired then, and the theme song was Rock the Dragon. So it went from super 80s like pop to like 90s rock. And then you move into GT and it's the rap, which I mean still isn't good, but I mean it kind of reflects the same kind of shifting with the time.
Yeah, it's just one of those things. Like I'm thinking now, like, so we were talking Pokemon. Like it's really sad that like I can't remember like a lot of like things in my head that like I did in school, but like I have a vivid memory of all the Pokemon intros.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like Pokemon World is still like one of my favorite ones, which is hilarious because it was for like one of the most pointless seasons in all of Pokemon. I just always think of like, do you want to be a master of Pokemon? Do you have the skills to be number one?
How about some of the songs they got for the movies?
Those were good too. Honestly,
remember when Weird Al did Pokemon?
Oh yeah, everybody Pokemon. Also the Poke Rap. Like, how can we not talk about the Poke Rap?
Oh yeah, the Poke Rap was. Oh my god, that's my.
Did you know that
show right there?
Did you know they did more Poke Raps later on, and they're awful?
I don't know about that one, but I did hear the College Humor updated Poker Rap that had like everything all the way through like Gen 6. And like
Well,
it's like a 20-minute song.
true. Well, I also think of like Jonathan Young again. He did the death metal fucking pokey rap, which was hilarious.
That's amazing.
Yeah, they did one for Gen 3, and it's the worst thing I've ever heard in my life. If you want some ear rape, go look that up.
Jesus.
The gang's all here. That's all I'll say. Yeah, but Pokemon, it's hilarious because like I'll be in my head just at work one day, and all of a sudden just get like the fucking it's a whole new world. Pokemon Johto will just pop in my head randomly.
Do 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 do.
Like, why is it so catchy?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. They just were hitting them out of the park at that point in time with Pokemon songs.
Well, it's funny too because like Pokemon's like eternal rival, even though they're not similar at all. Digimon also had like one of the most like earworm like opening themes ever.
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy. So I was saving this one for later because this one's very iconic, but we can't do a anime music episode without talking about Naruto.
Yeah, that's for sure. Naruto. Oh, you talking about original Naruto or both?
Naruto, Shippuden, hell, even Baruto. Like they're all on the same level, basically.
That's fair. Yeah, the original Naruto had a lot of very iconic songs, both openings and like in episode background music.
Oh yeah.
Was it like Sadness and Sorrow or something?
That's one.
That's
I always
one of
think
the
of
ones
like
that's like most iconic.
yeah, Shippuden had a ton of those. Like it just like, it fits because it has that like kind of ninja-esque vibe to it at times.
Why does
But it
Sasuke
also
get all the best fucking themes too?
I know.
Like you got that sick ass fucking like cowboy outlaw song in Shippuden, and then he also had like an alternate version of that song that was like super heavy rock that would also shift into the same tune from the cowboy song. I'm like, why the fuck does he get all the best songs?
The music that plays during Naruto and Sasuke's final fight at the end of Shippuden is still one of my favorites. Like it's so epic.
I love the it's a I don't know the name of it, but it was a violin song. And I'm pretty sure the first time it played was when Sakura and Granny Chio were fighting Sasori. And I fucking love that song.
Also, another great one is when Naruto finally like has his like full on like pact with shit. I'm forgetting the fox demon's name.
Kurama.
Yeah, when him and Kurama finally like join forces and like the gate opens up, like that theme to me is like so super epic. Like that was like such an awesome moment in that show.
And then there was that that song that like played constantly through the second half of Shippuden that went like
oh yeah.
It had like the marching music, like,
and then it cuts into like the flutes and stuff. Like,
yeah,
fucking love that theme. And then like we can't not talk about Naruto intros because there are playlists on fucking Spotify of all the Naruto intros, and it's like they're all bangers. Like especially
there's
Bluebird.
so many. There's so many of them.
Ironically, like one of my favorites is the final Shippuden opening theme because it's just so like chill. Like because like the war is over at that point, so now we're just all gonna party. You know, say what you will about Baruto, it's still a show that, like as we said in our year-end recap for GNC last year, it's a show that we have to take mental health breaks from. But Baruto has some banger openings.
Yeah.
Like to me, like the one that like sticks out to me is like the second opening that it's like a doo-wop like song that like goes like super hard for no reason. I can't remember what the name of it. I think it's called Over. Is the name of it, and it's by Let me bring up my anime theme song playlist on Spotify because I have a lot of these.
It's hard for me to differentiate. There's only like a few Naruto songs that I actually know the name of. It's because it's just so fucking many of them that I get them confused. I know Silhouette's really good.
Oh, this is gonna bug the hell out of me if I can't remember the name. Well, I can't remember it right now, but it's the
Yeah.
second opening for Baruto. I fucking love that song.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, Naruto's got a lot of good ones for sure.
Yeah, that you can definitely tell they put a lot of budget into it,
especially in Shippuden. Like the first series had a lot of good songs, but they reused a lot of them and didn't really add new ones very often. So like by like episode 50, you've heard 90% of the songs that are going to be in the show.
Oh yeah,
and there's over 200 episodes, so that's
yeah. Oh boy.
But yeah, another one that comes to mind. I mean, it'd be pretty silly of us not to bring it up in a anime music episode, but Cowboy Bebop.
So you have to get a feel for freeform jazz.
Yeah, Cowboy Bebop it's another one of those ones that has just a wide variety of different songs, and a lot of them are like vocal songs too.
I just love how like there's so much jazz early on, and I was like how does it like work so well though for what's going on?
Because jazz and anime goes together like lamb and tuna fish.
Yeah. Oh man. It works too with the whole like space cowboy theme too that goes along with the entire series.
Oh yeah. I mean, but the whole concept is, raking in bounties, you got to have some of that acoustic, some fucking harmonica in there,
Oh yeah. God,
that
is a series I have to sit down and watch again because it has been years.
Yeah, it's been a couple years. I think I'm due for a rewatch. I'm actually due for a rewatch for a lot of shows.
Yeah,
but
my problem is I'd rather watch shows I haven't seen, so my rewatches get pushed back a lot.
That's true. I also have a lot of comfort shows, and there's also shows that I haven't seen, and like for instance, I'm watching Bleach again, and it's been well over a decade since the last time I watched it, so I'm kind of overdue at this point, and I also want to watch the new stuff that's coming out for it. So I kind of feel like I need to have the refresher either way.
That's fair.
But yeah, Cowboy Bebop just nails out of the park. I have that soundtrack on vinyl of all things. And even like when it like really mixes in like different genres of music, because it definitely leans real heavy on the jazz and the blues. But it mixes in some other stuff from time to time. And then there's, there's the Heavy Metal Queen episode. I love some of the songs in that episode.
See, to me, like what makes a soundtrack perfect in this regard is like when it can be extremely diverse, but also like can keep a similar theme at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Like this isn't an anime, but it kind of is an anime when you think about it. But it's one of my favorite soundtracks just in terms of like a broad like spectrum of like songs, and that's actually Persona 5 soundtrack. Like it is so, to me, like I always tell people like this is kind of related because there is a Persona 5 anime, but I always tell people like I got like 2 hours into that game and I immediately went on Amazon and ordered the soundtrack because I needed to own that physically.
Fair.
Like it is like I love me my Persona 4, but 5 I think wins in the soundtrack department.
You'll
That's what I've heard. When you get to it, it is. They somehow managed, because the whole thing they have that whole heist theme going on. They managed to make every song sound like a heist, but also fit in like with the whole theme of the game, which is like government oppression and like the systems against you. Very topical game for the time.
That's for sure. I actually been meaning to ask you, does the Persona 4 anime use the same music from the game?
Yes and no. There's some original tracks. It's kind of, it's got the same vibe. That's what I'll tell you.
Okay.
There is a few tracks though that do appear in both.
Oh, that's good. I mean, I'd imagine they'd have to if they put that much effort into making a good soundtrack for the game. They'd have to reuse some of it for the anime version. But,
oh yeah.
But yeah, Cowboy Bebop, top tier, 100%.
Oh, yeah. I'm trying to think like what's another good show that
Well, I mean, you don't have much much to say on it yet, but Attack on Titan,
yeah, that
the
first
soundtrack.
intro is iconic.
Yeah, well, honestly, I love all the intros for Attack on Titan are great, but even just like the music that plays during the show, it like it really hits the mark with every scene, everything, like with the way that everything is timed out with the music, with the way that in the same song it will shift genres, and it
Hmm.
just works so fucking perfectly. Like, well, how I mentioned earlier, like the soundtrack needs to make you feel the correct emotions, um, like separate from what's happening on the screen,
Oh yeah,
and that it definitely nails that 100%.
I've heard select tracks here and there. It's definitely good stuff. I'm if I ever get to the watching it, I'll definitely have more to say.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Speaking of that, though, I this kind of just reminded me of another somewhat modern show that has really good music, and that's Spy Family.
Yeah, another one that really mixes in a lot of like jazzy music.
Well, it really fits that like I want to say like Spy Family is a very time confused show because I swear to God I can't tell what time period it's supposed to be at times. But it's definitely got that like Cold War esque vibe to the songs, like where there's like all the spy kind of thriller music
Yeah,
going on.
for sure.
Um, but then you also got the goofy shit with like whenever yours trying to do something and failing, but it's adorable because it's your.
Yeah,
Um, it's just a good one. Plus the like watching like you've seen Code White at this point, right?
mm-hmm. Something
Okay,
theaters.
yeah, like watching like Code White, like the songs in Code White were so great too. Like it just had like such a epic vibe to it. Like especially
Yeah,
the theme when they're like attacking the airship.
I can't wait for that to come out, like for streaming or home releases, because I definitely want to watch it again.
Oh yeah. Also, like Spy Family has some great openings and outros. Like to me, like my favorite is probably like it's between Souvenir, which was the second intro of season one, um, or season two's intro with Kurakura. I really
Yeah,
liked as well.
I like that one a lot. I really like comedy.
Comedy's good too.
That was just a really good like chill vibe kind of song.
Yeah. Well, I love how the openings are really like the openings are kind of bombastic, and then the outros are super chill.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Yeah, I can't wait for more Spy Family. Like season three is coming soon.
I'm so pumped for season 3. I can't wait. This
Um,
this bi-weekly chapter shit's getting old, I gotta say.
yeah, I know. So another series that has pretty interesting music, Jujutsu Kaisen.
Yeah, I'm not like super. I mean, I've watched through the whole series and the movie, but I don't know. I like no particular tracks are sticking out in my mind.
I'm convinced the people behind Jujutsu Kaisen are secretly Persona fans because there is some Persona vibes in some of those songs. Like I know, like the outro to the first season of Jujutsu Kaisen, Lost in Paradise. That sounds like a fucking Persona song. I swear.
Yeah, that's a song that I do know because it's been memed to hell, and it's just an amazing song.
There's that. Shout out to our buddy Slade. He hates it, but I love the "You Are My Specials" from the second half of season two.
That has a really interesting sound to it. That song, and
I just
like
love how
hmm?
I was just gonna say like I love because that's the point where Jujutsu Kaisen gets spoiler warning. It gets very fucking bleak in that show towards the end of season two.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that opening song just fucking nails how fucking like insane that show's getting by that point.
Yeah, I need to get Cindy back on that because that's a really good show.
What's interesting though is then like the outro theme is just like extremely chill. Like it's
Yeah,
just kind of this calming piano theme, and it's like okay, you've suffered for an entire like half a season. Have this nice chill song just to relax to before we
Mhm.
punch you in the gut. the next episode and kill another one of your favorite characters.
No kidding.
I hope
No
you don't
kidding.
like. I hope you're not super attached to any of the. I mean, we've already spoiled everything, but I hope you're not super attached to any of the characters in Jujutsu Kaisen. By the way.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't want that.
Yeah. Oh boy.
Another one that stands out to me that, like some of these tracks have just a permanent space in my mind. Death Note.
I still gotta watch that like again because I've only seen it once and it was way back when it first came out.
Yeah, Death Note has one of those soundtracks. Like if it wasn't for the soundtrack, like the show definitely wouldn't work as well as it does, in my opinion. Because the story is there, but at the end of the day, like the show is like 60% inner monologue.
Oh yeah, some of the music is very somber and it just kind of works.
Yeah, but when it does like build up, like it really makes you feel the hype. Like I've never been more fucking excited to watch a dude write down in a notebook. Like,
yeah,
like literally, like you get fucking hyped when he whips that pen out and you fucking hear that like rising Latin chant going on in the background with like the creepy like death music. Like it just works so fucking perfectly.
Hell, like even even in the masterpiece that is the Netflix Death Note movie, like the music was one of the few things I think they got really right in that movie.
For sure. And there was this one song. It was like midway through the series. And it was like the first time you watch the series through, it's a super weird, jarring, like, why is this here? Because like out of nowhere, randomly, the character Misa is walking around the city wearing this like extremely over the top, like frilly, poofy goth girl dress. Like she looks like one of those like goth dolls. And she's singing this song. It's like a quick little like 1.5, 2-minute song that she sings, and it's like super out there and jarring, but like it fits with the tone. And then when you like, if you're paying attention at the end of the series and you realize what that was, it like, and that clicks into place, and the song just becomes so much more apt to that series.
Yeah, honestly, that is one of my favorite aspects of like an anime along like a not a super long but like a semi long kind of like anime where it's like there's like songs that you hear towards the beginning and then they just come back at the end and you're like, wait a minute, I remember this. Like that's always a fun like thing because it really gives you that like wave of nostalgia right before the show ends.
Yeah. Plus the openers for Death Note are both great.
Oh yeah.
The first one, I think it's called The World. That one's just an extremely like iconic hype song. And then the second song, which is done by Maximum the Hormone, called What's Up People, and that song is just chaos.
Yeah.
Which, if anyone doesn't know who Maximum the Hormone, that's the people who did the Frieza song.
Yes. I also love, this is just kind of a thing too that I love about some of these shows where they just use a real world song as their outro theme for no reason. Like I always remember like Hellsing Ultimate used Shine by Mr. Big as its outro theme for years.
I fucking loved that. That was great.
Well, it's like you watch Hellsing Ultimate and then all of a sudden you just get this like really 90s sounding like hair metal song playing as the outro.
Hellsing Ultimate had a really interesting soundtrack too, because there was this one song they threw in. I think it was right when the Nazis started their invasion, and they put on this weird song that was like, it was talking about like singing a song in different languages, and they're saying, don't sing it in any of these, sing it in broken English. It was like this really bizarre song, but it was just so like out there for what was going on, but it worked.
You know what another one of my favorites is too? When you get the opening theme that fucking is just nothing like what the show's tone is, but it's so fucking epic it just works.
Mhm.
Like to me, like my absolute favorite like theme song for a show that like is so unfitting but somehow works is Flyers, the opening theme to Death Parade.
Yeah, that was definitely up there. I love that song. That's great.
It's so fucking epic and like it like goes so hard, but then you watch the show and you're like, this show is not like this at all. It's a great show.
No.
I love like Death Parade, but my god, that opening theme is just so fucking like heavy. Well, not heavy. It's just super fucking like in your face, and then the show is very much not, which is great.
Mhm. Another anime that has an opening that is an absolute banger but does not fit the tone of the show at all is the theme for Yu Yu Hakusho.
I fucking love the theme for I like just the open I love that opening because you just hear like that the whoosh sound and then photon fall coming down and then it cuts into the theme and it's like this is so good.
Yeah, that it really kicks the bass.
I love the credits theme too for Yu Yu Hakusho. It's very 80s and very funky.
Yeah. Yeah, Yu Yu Hakusho definitely loved like the 80s sound for their music, even though it's technically a 90s anime. But it came out in 90s, so I mean, it's barely a 90s anime.
Well, Japan, you got to remember, Japan's behind by like a decade, so.
But yeah, there's so many that I could bring up.
I'm trying to think of another. Well, I mean, Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood had a great soundtrack.
Yeah, that's one of those ones that, like, you could stick that in the fucking like classical music section.
Yeah,
with that soundtrack because it just fucking with those particular kinds of songs, it fits. Like that's the kind of soundtrack that I could easily see them doing like a like Lord of the Rings-esque like orchestra event where like, you know, you sell tickets to go and see an orchestra play the songs from that show.
Yeah. No, 100%. Trying to think
And
now.
the openings are all bangers too.
Yes, they are. We're kind of reaching that point now where I'm like trying to think, like, but my brain's like forgetting everything.
You know what actually has it's not my favorite anime as far as story goes. It's entertaining and all, and I know it has its place in at least in our generation's mind, but has an absolutely outrageously good soundtrack is Fooly Cooly.
That's true.
Like that is one thing that show knocks out of the park because its soundtrack is fucking great.
Yeah, I mean, I love the. I mean, the main character literally uses a Rickenbacker bass guitar, which is just fucking epic.
Just beats people's head in with it.
Oh, speaking of that, this is a bit of a dramatic shift, but this is technically an anime. Scott Pilgrim Takes Off had a fucking epic soundtrack.
Yeah, I was actually going to bring that one up. Yeah, that I love the soundtrack for anything Scott Pilgrim, honestly, because it's always a straight up home run.
True. Takes Off though had some because Takes Off was really interesting because it was done by Anamanaguchi, the chiptune rock band that did the video game soundtrack, but it also had a lot of like other songs incorporated. Like I love the lo-fi energy of like the Sex Bomb songs. That the song that plays when Knives is learning how to play like bass with Kim and Steven Stills, like that song. I like just having that vibe in the background at times when I'm just chilling.
Yeah, I would easily listen to like one of those like, you know, 2-hour loops of just that little fucking clip of music that they do in that scene.
Oh yeah, I really wish like the Sex Bomb song that they play like was longer because I fucking love that song. It's so lo-fi, like late 2000s, like, and I love the vibe of it.
I still want to buy the soundtrack for that show. It's fantastic.
Yeah. Technically an anime, so it counts.
Yep, that's true. Another one that comes to mind is Bakano. It's another one of those like super jazzy, bluesy type of soundtracks. And again, it just works, especially with the time period it's set in. Being like the 20s and 30s, like it just really hits it very well.
No, that's for sure.
It's a very, very vibey kind of feel to it. Like, you just feel it. It works.
Let me see here. I'm trying to think of another one. We've really kind of gone among the gauntlet of them. Like honorable mention.
There's other ones.
Like Black Clover to me, like has some amazing music, but I particularly love the intros and outros because they just go so hard for no reason.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I still haven't gotten around to that one yet.
It's long. It's one of those intimidating ones that's so long. You're kind of like, eh.
Yeah. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure has some good music, especially the intros and outros.
Well, the outros are cheating. I mean, I mentioned with Shine earlier in Helsing, but the outros a lot of them are real world songs.
Yeah.
And I mean, I do incorporate those songs with JoJo's now. Like, I mean, Roundabout's just an iconic song. The one that I just think JoJo's now whenever I hear it is Rock Like an Egyptian.
Yep.
Like
for sure.
Because of that. But I mean, JoJo's has that whole rock, like classic rock theme to it, anyways. So,
yeah, I mean, fucking half the stands are named after rock bands.
Oh yeah, that's 100% for sure.
Fucking one. There's a fucking stand called Aerosmith.
Yep, King Crimson's another great one.
It was kind of stupid though, because in the dub they had, for licensing reasons, they had to change a lot of the names, and that was really a bummer. Because actually the one that is actually called Aerosmith, they called it Lil Bomber in the fucking dub, and that was really annoying. There's a stand called Grateful Dead, and in the dub they just call it Thankful Dead. So I'm just like, good way around that. Everybody knows exactly what you're going with. We're going for with that, but copyright.
Yeah, unfortunately, like it's different in Japan, but when you get to America, those are all trademarked names, and yeah,
which is really funny because usually it's the other way around. It's Japan hitting us with copyright shit, even though it's completely in fair use.
Yeah, well, when you're dealing with like musical acts, that's when you're getting into some sketchy territory there, because a lot of these bands, I mean, they're gonna grasp at the few things they have. So,
yeah, for sure.
I'm trying to think.
Written a list.
I mean, it's more fun off the cuff sometimes, but
yeah,
we haven't really.
I mean, it's good to just let it go where it goes,
We haven't really talked about One Piece much, mostly because I haven't seen enough of it. But like, what I've heard in the background whenever Alex is watching it, like, is very entertaining music. I do like how they kind of gave up on intro themes at one point and just started doing outros exclusively. Which,
yeah, One Piece has a lot of fun ones. There are a couple songs in particular that stand out in my mind as far as like the background music. They use a lot of horns and trumpets and stuff in that too.
True. I mean, to me, like One Piece film Red still has, like, because it's a musical, like there's so many songs throughout it, and they're really good.
I don't even think I knew it was a musical. I haven't watched it yet.
It's very good. I mean, I'm not even a huge One Piece fan, and I really did enjoy that film. I thought Alex was
I did watch Film Z though, and I like that one a lot.
Film Z is I prefer Film Z, but Red was really good.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think
it might be. I know there's probably like one or two that I'm gonna like fucking kick myself for not thinking of, but we named quite a few of them.
Yeah, like I could bring up my my playlist of like anime openings and outros, but like I'd be just cherry picking at that point.
Yeah. Fairy Tail. Fairy Tail has a fantastic soundtrack.
Does it?
That's one thing. Like I have my problems with Fairy Tail. Again, like probably mentioned on the podcast before, but it's one of those shows that has a really strong start, and then as it goes further on, it just gets more and more cringy to watch. Even though the story is still there, the story is still perfectly fine, but the fine details get really hard to watch after a while.
Yeah, I get you.
But the music is always on it every time. It has a very Celtic feel to it, and I love that shit.
Yeah, that one. That's a show that's on my radar, but I don't know if I'll ever get around to it.
I mean, it's worth a watch, but it's a long haul. It's a long series.
That's my thing. Is like I'm just so like intimidated to get into long series now.
Mm-hmm. I mean, honestly, I feel like I don't even know how to classify that as far as seasons go. What I think of as a season might not be the actual season, but the first like 50 episodes or so is like some of my favorite stuff.
Nah, I get you. Well, we've gone over an hour and a half, so I feel like we've covered a good gauntlet of them.
Yeah, fair enough. We could always revisit if we think of more that we want to do later.
Yeah, maybe we can do like a ranking, like maybe like rank some of our. So me and Alex did this for GNC, but we can do it again here. Like maybe rank some of our favorite openings and outros.
Yeah, we could do that. I mean, how long ago? It wasn't that long ago that you guys did it, was it?
It was the earlier this season.
Okay.
Something
Yeah,
to think
because I was
about,
just
though.
thinking, like, I mean, depending on how many animes you've seen, it would probably, shift.
Oh, yeah, it'd be a different list by this point. I mean, me and Alex are due for our yearly like top 25 revisit, anyways. So
Yeah, we could always try to get maybe not on the level of the full round table, but you could always pull a couple people.
yeah, we
Try
can try.
to get some extra lists.
Yeah,
If it works out. If not, we could always just do it as whatever.
yeah, we'll see. But yeah. So that was a good talk. Not 100% sure what we're gonna do next week. I know we've had a few ideas thrown around, so we'll leave you guys in suspense for that. But yeah, once again though, guys, thanks for joining us on Geek Addicts. You can find Geek Addicts on all the major podcasting platforms. You can find all of our links at Linktree/The Barber Who Games. And you can also find us over at the Superpod Network at superpodnetwork.com, where you can find a ton of different podcasts, shows, movie, like videos, blogs, just all sorts of stuff. Other great shows like Superpod Saga, Super Ghost Radio, Retro Rehab, Friday Night Gamecast, A Novel Console, The Elder Trolls, Fine Time, Remember 64, Bar Silence, Tommy's Video Game Car Show. I'm sorry, Tommy, I always forget your show. The GNC shows, Gaming Together. I believe that's everybody. Just a whole gauntlet of awesome creators over there.
You got to just like write a list and just keep it on your desk.
I know. Or just have the tab open in the side. But yeah, check us out over there. We just did a bunch of stuff. We tried doing a watch party last night covering the McDonald's cartoon. It was very cringe, but funny at the same time. And yeah, if you'd also like, you can join us over at the GNC Podcast Network Discord server for more nonsensical shenanigans. And with that, everybody, we'll see you all later.
Have a good one.
Did it stop?
And it's still ticking up.